in the series Writing Academic Papers in English Language Journals. Today, this video is about the introduction section in the main body of your paper. And the video presentation is written and presented by Ajahn Roy, that's myself, of the Naresuan University Graduate School. I remind you of the stream of ideas through your paper, where everything in your paper is focused on a single topic. And the introduction section in the main body of your paper must also be about the focus. So in the introduction section, you discuss matters of interest to you and to your readers up to the point of starting your study or project. This means it is mostly stated in the past tense. Remember, your paper is addressing research that you have done and is complete up to a point of achieving some reportable results. A good introduction will include a clear statement of the problem or question addressed in the experiment. It will put the question into some context by stating why this is an important question to be answered and/or why you found this to be a particularly interesting question. You state the objectives of the research, which would be stated as a research question, to which you sought an answer, or an hypothesis that you attempted to prove or disprove. And the introduction will address how the research helps to fill holes in our knowledge. So your introduction section will include any background material that is relevant to the question. It will give a brief overview of the method of the investigation. If necessary, the reasons for the choice of a particular method should be stated. And you state the principal results and conclusions of the investigation. Don't keep the reader in suspense. Let the reader follow the development of the evidence. But also remember, this is not a tutorial to instruct your readers in well-understood theory or practice. You must assume that interested readers are already well educated and knowledgeable in this academic area. You state the research question, which can be stated in several ways. For example, to determine whether such and such happened, we did this. Or the purpose of this study was to whatever the purpose was. Or you could say, this study tested the hypothesis that, or this study was undertaken to do something. I suggest that you do not start with, this study aimed to. It does not read well. You include references and citations in your introduction. In fact, references are almost exclusively used in the introduction and the discussion, which comes later. It is not usual in a research paper to have a separate literature review section. You would include all the necessary references and citations in your discussion. So in your discussion later in the paper, and in the methods and materials section that follows the introduction, you normally cite references that have direct relevance to your research method or materials used. The references cited should be those that inform your decision to do this research and support your decision. Also, to fill out the science behind your research. The references you cite must be the most valid and the most appropriate and available. Articles in peer-reviewed journals satisfy both these criteria. Books, master's and PhD theses, and some conference proceedings Those for which papers are rigorously reviewed are also valid sources. Citing abstracts only is not a good idea. They do not contain enough information to allow critical evaluation of the work. The number of references should be limited to the fewest number necessary by choosing the most important, the most valid, and where appropriate, the most recent. And particularly in science-based papers, references older than 10 years would usually not be considered useful. So to summarise, your introduction should tell your reader that your research was well-founded on the available literature, and your research question or hypothesis was carefully considered. So continuing to read your paper will be of interest. Then you can tell the reader how you did it in the methods and materials section, what the results were in the results section, and how your findings will be relevant or useful in the real world in the discussion section. Thank you very much for viewing this video, and you can now download the PowerPoint slides for further study. Now you can go to view the video on the next section of the main body of your paper, which is the methods and materials section. Thank you.